One of the main things that changes in your personal life when you have a kid is your personal life. You have no more personal life. Okay.
Maybe.
Trust yourself. I think, sometimes people run to books or run to their moms or dads for advice and things like that. And granted, that's important. Like those are resources that are available to you if you want to use them. But I think, again, for me, I was in a pandemic. It was kind of hard having my parent trying to parent me while I was trying to parent. At one point, I had to say, okay, what do I think is best? Like, I trust myself. They've raised me to this point. What do I want to do with my child,
Self-care is extremely important, and it's okay to not be okay.
Learn fear. Learn that you're gonna live with fear all your life. You're gonna be as soon as she's born, you're terrified. Because what you've done and who you are, and there are people like you out there called men. And so you're terrified of your daughter's safety all the time.
The one thing that I did not do with my children, I know some people try to make the home as quiet as possible. I never did that. Whatever we did, we kept normalcy. And you get used to the noise, get used to everything, so that when I did have to do something, if noise was made, they didn't just wake up.
Just be dedicated to your family and be supportive. The one thing that caught me off guard was the postpartum. And I didn't know what it was and how to recognize it. And until somebody pointed it out to me. And for new fathers, that's something you have to pay attention to, because the mother of a child will go through changes mentally. And you have to not be on the offense, and just, help her out.
For a new grandmother. Know your place. All mommies are different. Some want all that attention, and others want you to fall back and just let them do it. So just know your place.
Presently, we are 6 months or 7. We're 6 months pregnant. So we're now in the final trimester. Right now, honestly, I'm in a pretty good mental and emotional space. I'm not over. Like I said, I'm not overly worried. I think she's doing well from my perspective. I think she's doing a great job. I can only go by what other people have told me what their experiences are. And I've heard a lot of nightmare scenarios, and I don't believe that this is one. This has been, like I said, there's been good, there's been bad, but overall, I think it's been good.
I'm really excited. I'm very, very excited, but I also want to complain because being pregnant is not fun. And you talk to a lot of people or a lot of women, and it's like, oh, it's great, I never got sick ever. It's like, I'm sick every 2 hours. I'm always nauseous. I can't get in a cab. I'm throwing up in the back of cabs. It's not fun. So, but I feel like as women, we're taught not to complain about being pregnant, especially maybe as Black women, and that could also lead to our high mortality rates within giving childbirth. However, but it's it sucks. It's not fun being pregnant. But the baby's gonna be here. It's gonna be so great.
You need diapers,
binkies and stuff.
Books.
The nose aspirator. You got to get those snot. And it's nice because now they have one that you can, you can actually do. My poor father didn't have that, so you can imagine what he did to get the boogers out our nose.
A sponge padding that you can put in the tub.
The swaddler in every version.
the bassinet that was attached to my bed.
I didn't have all the things, well, I know my mom didn't have all the things that, I had. Because my mother used diapers where I used Pampers, the heavy glass bottles my mother used, but me, I used Pampers and I forget, Playtex bottles with the bags in them. So it's a little bit more different.
One of the main things is have a gate. My son, he was in what do you call them things? The walker.
Walkers.
He was in a walker. Back then they had walkers. So I'm in the kitchen and the oven is on and I said, Mal, do not touch. Do not touch. He touched anyway and got burnt. Well, slight burnt, but he never touched it again. Yeah, I would say a gate is one of the main things you should have.
In the side machine, massive.
One thing, you're giving up some of your freedom because life is on that baby. Taking care of that baby, making sure that that baby is okay. You're gonna lose a lot of sleep. It's just different because before you have children, you and your husband have all that time together, and it be getting less and less, when you have a child.
One of the main things that changes in your personal life when you have a kid is your personal life. You have no more personal life. Okay.
It's no longer husband and wife, it's family. And family is extremely different from just husband and wife with no children. The dynamic is different.
Life doesn't stop. It may be on pause for just a moment until we get this ball going and moving, and teaching me what that looked like on how to, really take on my role as a mother, as a partner.
They're going to get into different things. You're both, as parents, going to go different ways. Like my son, he's a Cub Scout. My daughter does dance and everything else. So those things change, and then your family time is your family time.
You don't get as much attention anymore.
No.
You have to focus on, the parents have to focus on the baby.
My thoughts at the moment about how my life will change when I have a child is 0 sleep, worrying a lot. At the moment, I try not to worry about anything. Leave it up to God, as your parents raised you to do, but I feel like I'm gonna worry about everything.
My daughter was 7 years by herself. Every morning, prior to Stephen, I would carry her from her bedroom into the kitchen. But when I became pregnant and I couldn't pick her up, the devastation that I saw on her face, she was so crushed and so hurt, not quite understanding. So I knew that I would have to do a little more to kind of make her kind of adjust. So don't make her feel like now she's just pushed to the side. They're still little. So always do special things. I did a mommy and daughter weekend with just her and me, even when Stephen came as a baby, to make you feel special.
Make sure you have noise canceling headphones.
Good advice, London.
Make sure that your door is barricaded at all times. And make sure that you have 9,277 blankets to hide under.
So they're gonna follow you for everything, and you just have to make sure that you're making the right choices and doing things that are right. So yeah.
Before, I felt like I could really control my emotions, and I felt like I was really great at mastering my emotions, and now I cannot whatsoever. I've already destroyed property. I try and do a prayer session, and I try and do some yoga, and then all that doesn't work. I need to do some arts and crafts, or paint something, or take a walk.
You have to,
This is hard for him because he's not patient, see?
My kids know that I was no nonsense. And my grandchildren don't give me a problem. They know that I'm no nonsense. I don't play games.
First, calm yourself down. Don't attach yourself to the toddler energy because it's easy.
I work with children with special needs. So a lot of my parents, they have to exercise patience because if not, they'll be frustrated. So take a breath. That's what I have to do. Sometimes I just have to take a deep breath because sometimes children just don't understand. Try to talk to your child rather than spanking your child. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that discipline is not needed sometimes, but I feel like in these days, there's so much that you can take from a child that you don't need to really hit them. Just say, I'm taking your iPad, and they're gonna stop.
It doesn't work. It does not. Stephen, you pulled a tantrum in the middle of Broadway going across the street on a busy street, and now you're standing there and he's literally yelling at me. Now, I don't know if black family, we don't have that. That's not something that really happens culturally in a black family. That stems is you just being outright disrespectful, And he's like, you don't listen to Steven. You don't listen to Steven. I just want to, and I'm saying, okay, baby, come on. And the softer my voice was, the more rambunctious he became. Now I'm saying I'm gonna have to turn into sister mom. And I'm like, okay. And he said, oh, I said, let's go.
You're teaching your child how to react to things. So if you showing your child that you have tantrums when they're upset, that's what they're gonna do. So maybe you should try to just calm down.
Well, what is a bad kid, right? That's when we decide what's a good.
I know 5.
Yeah, I know some. They out there.
A lot of these bad kids are really like truly misunderstood, or they don't have, it's something that's off where they're not able to fully be able to touch into their vulnerable innocence. A lot of these kids, they lash out, you know, they have these things, whatever, because they're not home, and they're doing it because of the fact, you know, they're seeing, like you said, their parents do it. Right.
I think yelling at the situation just makes it, from what I've seen, it just make it worse. I have not really had to experience that, so, but that would be my advice.
Our generation can get more overwhelmed than our parents. The dynamic of family is different. We're splitting roles and responsibility when it comes to finances, when it comes to, I have to be, you know, a wife, a mother, I still have to do business, I still have to, you know, be an entrepreneur, take this on. And I think that definitely was where the village came in.
Whether it's the grandparents or, you know, friends who serve as aunties or, you know, uncles, co-workers, if they're that close.
If it's children that's making you overwhelmed, get somebody in the family to keep them overnight, keep them a weekend, so you can get yourself together.
My mom was always great about that, because when I would say, like, I just need a moment, you know, and she would say, bring her over, you know, bring London over, go out, why don't y'all go to dinner, or why don't you whatever, and you always definitely supported me.
There were times when I would call my mother and ask her things, ask her for advice. You have to have a support mechanism around you.
I support my friends who are new moms, dads. One, I'm a really good gift giver. Hear them out, talk them through anything. If they want to vent, you can vent to me, you know, and then I'll probably take parent out for a drink.
Being there emotionally is pretty important. I found myself that realizing that although I can't relate in the moment, just remembering that just because they have a kid, to not say, oh, I'm just going to assume that they can't come or they don't want to come to whatever event. Sometimes I found myself doing that, so I remember to intentionally give more time. Maybe they need to find a babysitter, and maybe they need to just make sure things are set up at home and not just assume, oh, they can't go.
My number one new aunt tip is not to just ask about the baby. While that's important, I got in trouble a few times for calling saying, where's my nephew, rather than how are you to my sister, because it can be a lot. Definitely postpartum is a real thing, and you always want to check in on mom and dad.